Hello everybody, welcome back to another video on the channel. And in today's video, we're going to be talking about the worst horror movie franchise, at least in my opinion. Okay, it's definitely not the worst horror movie franchise of all time, but I'd say in recent years, it's definitely not one of my favorites, one that I actually look down upon a lot. As we know, there is a lot of horror movies out there, and a lot of them carry on with more movies which make it a franchise. And obviously there are a lot of cult classic horror movie franchises, not just, the classic original movies. A lot of horror movies can be like classic franchises, and there's some franchises that are honestly just not that great, hence the one we're going to be talking about in this video. So, I think without further ado, we should just get straight into it. Now guys, like I said, there are a lot of big horror movie franchises, a lot of good horror movie franchises, a lot of bad horror movie franchises, and a lot of horror movie franchises that honestly, I just don't know a lot about and, I'm not very fond of, I should say. Now, as someone that has watched a lot of horror movies, there are obviously some franchises that I'm just not gonna like that much, hence the franchise we're gonna be talking about in this video. That franchise I'm going to be talking about is the 3 going on 4 movie horror movie franchise known as Terrifier. Now, Terrifier is a very popular new-gen horror movie franchise, so I'm sure almost everybody watching this video probably knows exactly what Terrifier is. For those of you guys who don't know what Terrifier is, it's a 3 going on 4 movie horror movie franchise, kind of centered around the killer known as Art the Clown, which I'm sure we all know he was also in a movie earlier than the franchise called All Hallows Eve, but I have not seen All Hallows Eve, I'm not gonna lie, so I'm not gonna be mentioning that movie at all in this video. I think there's 2, maybe 3, I can't remember. I think there's only 2, but yeah, we're not gonna be talking about All Hallows Eve at all in this video. We're just talking about the 3 Terrifier movies. Now, I have seen 2.5 of the Terrifier movies. I'll explain the half later on, but I've seen basically the first Terrifier movie, the second Terrifier movie, and then half of the third Terrifier movie. So, in this video, I'm going to be explaining my experience and how much I enjoyed all 3 of the movies. Starting off, we have the first original Terrifier from 2016. Now, believe it or not, I actually watched the first Terrifier after watching Terrifier 2. I honestly don't know why, but I can tell you guys that before we even get to Terrifier 2, the second one was definitely better than the first. If I'm being completely honest, the first Terrifier might be, honestly, one of the worst horror movies I think I've seen. There's a couple reasons why I feel that way about the first Terrifier movie, believe it or not. First off, there is no type of backstory on the first Terrifier movie. No fucking backstory at all. First of all, we have absolutely no idea who or what Art the Clown is. All we know is he came to the town and he started wreaking havoc. We don't know what he is. We don't know what caused him to do the killing he was doing. We don't know anything about Art or what the hell Art even is. I don't know if he's an alien, a monster. We don't know. But honestly, that's not even the worst part. Obviously, there's tons of horror movies out there where the slashers we don't know anything about them. We don't know what they are, where they came from. It's completely normal in a lot of franchises. I'm just not very fond of it. The next reason being as to why I genuinely hate the first Terrifier movie is because nothing goes together at all. There's no opening. There's no good opening. It's just all kind of crumbled together into one, almost feels like a short film in a way. There's almost no introduction to the main characters, quote-unquote main characters, because, spoiler alert, they end up dying at the end of the movie. There's no types of, backstory or good writing on the opening characters. We don't really know much about them. We don't know how they came to be at this very moment. We don't know anything about them. Then, of course, earlier in the movie, around, I'd say 1/4 into the movie, we get introduced to Art the Clown, and yeah, the main characters are obviously quote-unquote main characters, I say, because like I said, they end up getting murked at the end, by the end of the movie. They just kind of look at him like, what the hell is this guy? Well, one of the friends, there's 2 friends, one of the friends is what, it's just probably a regular guy in a Halloween costume, because it is Halloween night, and the other girl's yeah, I'm not very fond of this guy, what the hell even is that, right? And like I said, the sequence of the movie, it just doesn't fit together. Everything kind of feels rushed in a way. There's no good fight scenes with Art the Clown. There's no good, anything. There's really just nothing good about the movie. Nothing gets pieced together correctly. Like I said, it honestly just feels like a jam-packed, short film of just kills. There's no types of, emotion or cinematicness put into the movie. It's literally all just blood and violence. Which, don't get me wrong, we need blood and violence for a good slasher, but, when it's just blood and violence, it's not that great of a movie. And obviously, a lot of people say Terrifier is one of, if not the goriest horror movie franchises of all time, which I will say, the gore in the first Terrifier movie is not one of the reasons I didn't like it, honestly. I feel like the gore in the first movie really wasn't that bad. I mean, it's a horror film, what do you expect? But yeah, just those two reasons. One, the writing of the characters is absolute dog ass, especially Art the Clown, and then nothing just goes together in a good way. But yes, that is why I dislike just the first Terrifier movie. Now we have to get into the other two, Terrifier 2 and Terrifier 3. Now when it comes to Terrifier 2, the second installment of the franchise, I honestly did not hate that movie. I honestly thought it was pretty solid. If you guys didn't know, the creators of Terrifier try and up the ante on the gore every movie, so the gore was a little bit worse than it was in the first Terrifier. But again, if I'm being completely honest, it wasn't bad enough for me to just click off the movie and hate it forever, right? Honestly, I feel like Terrifier 2 was a pretty decent movie and I probably would watch it again. I feel like the writing of the main character is cool, the writing of like some of the side characters is cool. We get a little bit like, I guess, background footage and everything, kind of showing how everything is like pieced together and how the sequence of events builds up to the Halloween night, the Halloween party where everything commences, and Art is kind of killing off people one by one before he gets to the main character. I feel like everything about that is just what a good slasher horror movie needs. And then obviously at the end of the movie, there's a quite S tier, in my opinion, fight scene between the final girl, her little brother Jonathan, and Art the Clown. It was Sierra, I'm pretty sure it's Sierra, Jonathan, and then Art the Clown. Jonathan is Sierra's little brother. Amazing fight scene at the end of the movie, I cannot lie. She's got the sword and everything in her Halloween costume. All in all, it's just a great end of the horror movie fight scene. I feel like every good horror movie at least needs like a chase scene at the end, or a scene where the main character is kind of getting some licks in on the slasher. It's what every good horror movie needs, and Terrifier 2 definitely delivered with that. It was very anticipating too, like the anticipation and the suspense was amazing in that end fight scene. Honestly, when it comes to Terrifier 2, there's not a lot of things I can complain about. But again, it just holds like a little bit of the problems from the first Terrifier. We still don't know pretty much anything about Art the Clown. We don't really know how he came to be. We don't know why he's killing people, if I'm not mistaken. We don't know really a lot about him. All we know is he's a violence-loving clown who just wants to inflict blood and guts everywhere on this town on Halloween night. There is some good stuff from the first well, I shouldn't say good, but there is some stuff from the first Terrifier movie that kind of bounces into the second Terrifier movie, making it a pretty decent sequel. If you guys watched my last video, horror movie sequels, you would know how I feel about certain sequels. And yeah, honestly, I feel like it wasn't a bad sequel at all, and honestly, just by itself was not a bad movie. I can't really complain when it comes to Terrifier 2. Again, like I said earlier, they like to up the ante on the gore every movie, so there was quite a bit of gore in this movie. If you guys know about that one kill at the house of Sierra's friend, you know exactly what I'm talking about. But honestly, other than that, I can't really complain on the gore too much. But then we get into Terrifier 3. The shitstorm that Terrifier 3 is, I should say. If I'm being completely honest, I don't even know where to begin when talking about Terrifier 3, so I guess I'll just start from when I first decided I was going to watch this movie. At this point, it was honestly probably like less than a year ago. I had already seen the first two Terrifier movies. I obviously saw Terrifier 2, then I saw the first Terrifier, and I was like, you know what? Terrifier 3 came out not that long ago. I want to see what this one is about because I've heard that they upped the ante a lot on the gore in this movie, so I just want to see exactly what they did with this film and see if it's just as decent as Terrifier 2, because obviously I wanted to see if, the writing and the story and everything was just as good as Terrifier 2. But me saying I was disappointed would be a fucking understatement if I'm being completely honest. If I'm being honest, I cannot speak on the story of Terrifier 3 too much in the writing and the sequence of events and everything, because like I said earlier, I did not watch the full movie. I watched like maybe 30 minutes of it to maybe like 45 minutes. I can't really remember, but I'll tell you guys right now the reason that I just did not get through this movie all the way. If I'm being completely honest, there's only one reason and one reason only why I just disliked this movie and couldn't get through it. It's because of the gore. I think we all seen it coming, especially the people watching this video that have seen the 3 Terrifier films. You probably already know why I just do not like this movie at all and couldn't get through it. It's because of the blood and guts and just the goriness of this movie. Now, a lot of you guys may be thinking, as someone who's watched a ton of horror movies, gore should not bother you, and honestly, it really doesn't. In a lot of movies, gore just does not bother me that much. But genuinely, the amount of it that was in this movie was just almost insufferable. like I said, guys, I could barely get through like half the movie. I don't even know if I made it to the halfway mark, if I'm being honest. The opening scene already was just very insane, and then the other scene where, you know, we get kind of the backstory of how Art the Clown came back after he was, you know, ultimately quote-unquote killed off after Terrifier 2. It was just too much gore for me. Like, it was kind of disgusting. You also have to remember, like, I'm not someone who's, like, fond of gore. I haven't seen every gory movie in the book, so I don't really know what to expect when going into crazy gore movies like this. Like, I've seen, obviously, some gory stuff in horror movies, but nothing like this, if I'm being completely honest with you guys. So yes, if I honestly have to conclude why I don't like the franchise in itself, it's just because there's too much gore and the writing isn't amazing, and honestly, there's no good lore on the characters. There's no good backstory on any of the characters or anything like that. Obviously, like I said, Terrifier 2 was not a bad film at all, but when it comes to the first Terrifier, and then I should say like the first 45 minutes of Terrifier 3, it was just honestly dog shit to me. I don't know how you guys feel, but that's how I feel. Terrifier, probably one of my least favorite horror movie franchises in recent time. But yes, guys, I think that has to conclude this video. Hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, make sure to like, subscribe, follow the Twitch, follow the TikTok, follow the IG. I'll see you on the next one. Peace.